All right. Good morning, everybody. Um, Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about AI in education and specifically practical use cases for AI. In AI discussions, we've done this before here at Compton College. We've had a few presenters. I also presented at the last professional development for the Distance Education Summit. For those who don't know, I'm Stephen Gonzales. I teach political science here, and I'm also double as your campus instructional designer. So if any faculty have any questions that they'd like answered, I hold office hours for faculty. I specifically focus on Canvas, how to get courses accessible, how to deliver materials, and think of new ways to help you. So in the chat, if you want to find my link and book an appointment, you can go ahead and do that anytime. So why don't we get into it? More people will be arriving. So for your time, let's get started. So thinking about AI and practical use cases, I want to acknowledge that AI is flawed. AI has some challenges that I frankly do not know how to overcome. We can think of the environmental effects, just how much energy artificial intelligence uses. We can think of biases if AI is trained on human language and human output. That also would carry human imperfection and human biases. So we have to be cautious. We can also think of when we think of schooling and education itself, keep in mind AI sounds good enough to the novice, but if you're an expert or if you're someone who's taught in this field a great while, you might notice that AI is delivering some things that sound nice, but aren't actually true. So that is another thing we want to be careful about. And finally, I think all of us have a vested interest in our job security. Will AI replace us? Now, the good news is last year, California state legislature and Governor Gavin Newsom, they signed a bill into law that basically said a teacher must be a human being. But as we know, laws can change. There may be different interpretations of that. How do we stay above all of this new technology, in a way that doesn't, you know, interfere with our jobs and our security? I don't have those answers to those big questions. We're figuring it out. I myself am ambivalent towards AI. It's useful when it's useful, and it's also something I can see being abused and exploited by people who don't always have the best interests of the public in mind. But with that said, I don't want to spend too much time going over the negatives because you're going to hear that in every presentation from here on out. And I want to make sure we have time to go over, if you're going to see AI as a tool, how can you use it? And so that's what this presentation is about. We're going to go over 4 different tools and focus on 5 different topics. So in the chat, I've been posting the same link at all times. You can follow along with this slideshow that I'm presenting at any time. And what I want you to take away from this is we're going to talk about ChatGPT, and specifically, if you don't like ChatGPT, if you prefer Google Gemini or Perplexity or whatever AI program you use, we're also going to discuss prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a way to get better quality outputs. If you have an idea, yeah, all of the writing can sound generic and sound frivolous, but if you feed it more information and you get to the core of what you want as an instructor or as an administrator or classified staff, if you have a vision, we'll try to think of some tools to help bring that, think of it as a tool to help bring out the best for all of us. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. We're also going to talk about Google NotebookLM, which is free, and NapkinAI, which is free, but currently you need to be put on a waiting list. It's like invite only. You can sign up, but you might not get an account right away. I know for me, when I signed up, NapkinAI, something we'll talk about in a bit, took me just an hour and I had my account. So it is free for now. They are kind of like doing like this public demo. So I would take advantage of it if you're curious. We'll talk about that later. And finally, in tool number 4, we're going to talk about Gamma.app, which is a slideshow presentation generator. And I thought, well, what better use case to show than here using this presentation software. So this was created by me. I've fed this information. I've edited this severely, but it was created by me using prompts and making decisions on how to make this more visual, when to change images, how could I rewrite these slides just to be a little bit better. So that's what we'll talk about today. Now, I do want to go over when you signed up for this call, this professional development, which you'll get 1 hour of at the end of this webinar. I had you fill out a couple of questions, and I want to go over those results, and I want to just foreshadow the use of NapkinAI. NapkinAI is a visual AI software. It generates infographics. It generates cool visuals in a way that really don't take any trouble at all. And I can actually share this with all of you. Here, this is what NapkinAI looks like. It looks just like a piece of paper, and you just write your ideas here. And so in the survey results, I had about 78 people respond that they would be joining us. Not everyone's here yet, but maybe more people will trickle in. And the first question I asked was, how familiar are you with artificial intelligence tools? I just typed this information in, and Napkin was able to create very simple pie chart. I didn't have to go into Excel. I didn't have to manually make the table and make it formatted correctly. It just selected and just thought, this looks good enough. And most of you responded that you're somewhere in between. The second highest group was not familiar, and 6 of you were very familiar. So welcome to all of you. Feel free to chime in the chat or in the Q&A if you know an answer, if you have questions that you can answer and respond to. Feel free to jump in. But I'm going to tailor this specifically to those people who feel like they're more in between and not familiar. The second question was for instruction. Now, I know some people are not instructors here. That's fine. I found some resources, some ways that you could probably benefit this if you work on more of the administrative side or school side. We'll talk about that. But for instruction, which AI features are you most interested in? I just found the results, prompted it out here. And it seems like the number one was no preference, which is great, which means I'll just talk about everything. But it seems like everything else was split. Ancillaries, creating question banks, glossaries, these types of things we'll go over now in a bit. And finally, these AI programs, some of them are free to try. Some of them have free versions that are very limited. And some of them are paid to unlock some of the more powerful end. I'm going to show you mostly free versions, but I will share with you some of the benefits of paid versions. I am not paid by ChatGPT or Google Notebook or Napkin. I'm not receiving any money. This is all just tools that I've played with. I am not an expert. I'm not researching AI actively. I am just someone who likes to play with these tools, see what the fuss is about, and also hopefully I can share a little bit with you. Carlos said you pay for ChatGPT the $20 a month. So do I. And I think it's actually been pretty helpful just for getting the outputs from my brain, my thoughts, and just having that unlimited usage, tapping into some of these bigger features like deep research and things like that. It's pretty great. So again, all of these were generated by NapkinAI, and we'll demonstrate that in a little while. So let's continue. Now, I want us to think about ChatGPT. It's the first artificial intelligence learning language model that came out back in November of 2022. It's been almost 3 years since ChatGPT came out. And people think of all the queries. If you're an instructor, you've seen your students use it, whether you know it or not. You've probably encountered some AI work. And if it all sounds very generic, like a surface level Wikipedia entry, part of that might be because of the way we're prompting it. So I want us to think about prompt engineering and crafting better prompts as a way to think about how do we get the quality in, the ideas that we care about deeply. How do we get that quality into the ChatGPT, and how do we get the quality out? Our quality thoughts, ChatGPT toys with it, we generate it, we iterate it, we refine it till we make it ours, and we get what we want out of it. Now, ChatGPT also can be useful for the student end or for yourself, especially if you have documents you want to scan, you want to talk about analysis and trends. AI is very useful for that as well. And as we'll go over, it's a time saver. I've been fortunate enough to use ChatGPT to help me program my weekly announcements. And so if this week we're talking about the Constitution, I'll say to my announcer bot, hey, make a Canvas announcement talking about which readings are due from which chapter. And I really don't type that much in, and it outputs a beautiful announcement. I'm delivering the same ideas. I'm sharing the things that I want to share, but it's taking that, 15 minutes of editing, thinking about what I want to say, taking that, turning it into about 2 minutes of work, saving me time, theoretically using this time to do other things, anything else I could do in the world, and specifically probably play more with ChatGPT. So I want to talk about skill, and we're going to start from the top and go to the bottom. But when you think about AI, advanced users, who are they? I don't know if I could consider myself an advanced user. I don't tap into some of these other resources like coding and other analysis, but you can get some very sophisticated outputs, and I'll share with you some of the sophisticated outputs that I've been able to tap into. Now, when we talk about prompt engineering, by the end of this lesson, this development opportunity, we're going to try to think about ways we can tailor our responses to add context, adding context, formatting specifications. These are things that are going to really drive AI, and I'll break it down for you in a couple of useful steps. And then I'm sure we're all familiar with the beginner aspects. Simple prompts: summarize this article, help me write a quiz, help me brainstorm or create learning objectives, or other things that are pretty useful. When we think about something like a topic that could be taught around the campus, I teach political science, but I got to imagine if I was I don't know, a biology instructor, a high school science teacher, I could say at the beginning, I could say, explain photosynthesis. That'd be great. But if I give ChatGPT a role, a voice that it should carry, act as a friendly tutor, explain photosynthesis, and recognize the audience, an undergraduate college student, the output might be different. And then I can advance to complex setups like design a 15-minute undergraduate lesson on plant life cycles with an engaging opening, learning objectives, hands-on activity, and discussion questions. I can have that lesson plan, and still, it's not going to be perfect because you know what's best for your own class. And just, having that base, and then you can act more as an executive. I like this, keep this. I don't like that, take it out. You can use that time to just go over what you like, what you don't like, and refine the things that you really want students to take away. So in the classroom, ChatGPT, I'm sure we're all familiar. You can generate discussion prompts, discussion questions, open-ended questions. You can create variations of multiple problems. You can input a quiz question. You can say, make 5 other versions of this. Maybe I want to take a multiple choice quiz and turn it into a matching quiz, or a select multiple answers quiz, or a short answer question. These are some of the things you can do with ChatGPT. You can help build a lesson plan, including activities, opportunities for learning objectives, discussions, and more. And then you can develop analogies for complex concepts, especially if you're trying to think, how do I explain something to someone who I've studied for years, but they may not have any idea what's happening. Now, beyond teaching, if you're someone who is not an instructional employee here at the college, you can still use ChatGPT to draft professional emails, create thinking of grant proposals and other plans. You can try to work with ChatGPT. Hey, search around the area, search around the local community colleges, and find out what other campuses are doing, because that's a lot of what we do. We piggyback off of one another. You can summarize policy documents, and I've summarized things like board meeting agendas, academic Senate meeting notes. I've summarized things like our faculty union contract, and trying to think about the ways we can all benefit from this. Finally, writer's block, especially with these technical reports, we probably don't enjoy it as much. So when we're thinking about ChatGPT, this is like your first pass. You should always maintain control by editing. I've received emails from students where it's clear they're just writing a generic email to a professor. They have no idea who I am, what the class is about. It kind of, leads me to think, okay, I need to really pay attention to what the student is asking, because is it genuine? Is it, something useful for us? That is something we can consider as well. Now, I want to talk about probably the most useful part of this section when talking about prompt instructions and prompt engineering. I want you to think three things: prompt, I'm sorry, number one, role; number two, audience; number three, goal. With these three features, you'll be able to create a very useful prompt. So first, let's start with role. You can assign ChatGPT specific voice or expertise. In my notes, I say I'm a political science instructor at a local community college, and I like to be friendly and professional in my replies. It helps me sort out some of that formal language, and it gets to the heart of how I want this voice to sound. And you can write it in your own voice, whether you want to sound more professional, more academic, more down to earth. You could write it just like that. It may change the output of that response. Um, then you want to focus on your audience. All of us are interacting with college students, community college students at that. And we can also think of our students' specific background knowledge. If they are in places like Southern California, that's going to impact their opinions on local government, the lifestyle that we live around in Southern California, very densely populated. Compare that to a generic answer, which might include answers that focus more on suburbs or rural America. These are things you can add and focus on. So the prompt example here, generated by ChatGPT for first-year engineering students who have completed calculus but are new to physics concepts. That's another way you can tailor that specific prompt. Finally, goal. Clearly state your learning objective. Create an explanation that helps students to apply the scientific method to everyday problems, or develop a guided activity that demonstrates the practical applications of quadratic equations. Ooh, that's a lot of words here, right? But when you have your goal, think of your learning objective. Think of that old school Bloom's taxonomy. You have lower ordered learning objectives, lower ordered thought objectives, and higher order thinking objectives. How do we take that to the next level? How do we scaffold that or implement ways in which we can benefit from that? And so this will help some ChatGPT prompt, and it doesn't have to be ChatGPT, it can be any artificial learning language model that we use. So what I'd like to do right now is turn it over to you. I want us to just focus on ChatGPT just to start. And so what I'm going to invite you all to do is think about your role, think about your audience, and think about your goal. So if anyone has anything they'd like to share, I could just make up some examples here as we go. But let's use that previous slide to go over and use those different things. So let's see, let's just start with explain photosynthesis. I haven't talked about photosynthesis since I was like in 6th grade, but it's very important, right? And what is photosynthesis? It's giving me some, complex equations, chemical symbols. Oh my goodness. This is great if I need answers. It already knows, ChatGPT already knows from memory that I'm a community college instructor. It's already asking me, hey, do you want slides for this or a worksheet? I don't need that. Now let's go with the role and the audience, and let's advance this prompt a bit. You are a community college instructor discussing intro level scientific terminology. All right, now it changes things up. Some of the more complex formulas have been reduced or explained as seen here. CO2 comes from the air, H2O comes from the soil. Ooh, I'm not sure about that. Got to look at that. But you see, if I didn't know, I might get tripped up, or I might be completely wrong, and it might come from the soil. I think H2O is water. Let's see. Let's focus on tailor to students like myself. I'm going to talk about myself here, who have never taken an advanced college lesson. Right. Yeah. Carlos, you're absolutely right. ChatGPT is not thinking. It is just a statistical output. This is what it sounds good based on the statistics of everything it's read about photosynthesis in the past. All right, now it's explaining things taken in through the roots. Oh, the plants. Carlos, absolutely right. Thank you so much. It's talking about photosynthesis in the plants. Of course. See, I don't teach this. I should have just focused on what I know, political science and AI. That's all I'm good for. So you have a little bit of a different output. We can compare it to this early response, very complex symbols, water splitting. These are terms that I could learn, but if I'm an intro student, which I would be in this scenario, photosynthesis is how plants make their own food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, a gas in the air. I understand that. It's helping me think about the ways my students would like to go. And now I'm going to add that advance that goal. Think of 3 learning objectives from lower ordered thinking to higher ordered thinking that will scaffold student success in their knowledge. I'm just making it up as I go along. Should have practiced this. All right, learning objectives going from identify to explain to analyze. And so some activities, labeling diagrams or matching terms, that's the lower order, that's identify. Objective 2, short written explanation or discussion. And objective 3, scenario-based questions or small group analysis. If I wanted to, I could expand on this and ask, can you create some small group question? And it will probably pump out some good questions, identifying, understanding, and finally analysis. This is what I'm probably most interested if I'm an instructor, right? Imagine a greenhouse where plants grow faster than normal. What conditions in that environment might be speeding up photosynthesis? Again, how you use it, I am not an expert on photosynthesis, but now I can say after doing this, and I could, ask my own questions, I could probably learn a little bit more. Now, Stephanie, great question. Are these tools only available on the paid version? Actually, in any free version, you can use these tools, role, audience, and goal. These are just ways you're crafting your prompt. Now, with the paid versions, you get the more advanced models. It's trained on more data, trained on more updated data. Useful, but I think this prompt engineering instruction is something that's going to be useful, free or paid, regardless of what you're doing. So thank you. And I still can't get over, I was thinking about soil and I was like, water is not from the soil. Thank you, Carlos. Still popping up on my feed there. All right. So hopefully you've been able to demonstrate, we're already half an hour in and I've only covered, 1/5 of what I wanted to discuss. Just keep in mind, when we think about ChatGPT, think about your subject, think about your discipline, think about what you want out of the students, and structure your responses. Let me see, create a table. I can also do that. Create a table that can help. So creating a table is something that ChatGPT excels at in ways that I don't. It's thinking. Now it's on the spot. It's getting nervous. Let me refresh that. Create a helpful table. Okay, now it's using the table for the learning objectives. And this would be great for me to just think about, okay, what do I want to scaffold them up in their level of thinking? But yes, Stephanie, you can do all of this with the free versions of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. You think it, Copilot, you think it, you can probably find it. And then once an output is done, I know on the free versions, you're limited. You can get, only so many messages per hour, per day. But with the paid version, you get unlimited responses. And so have a conversation with your ChatGPT. Really try to find out ways you can do it. And as a subject expert, again, I am not a subject expert in photosynthesis or biology or whatever science would explain photosynthesis. But if this was a political science element, I would have my expertise and try to drive out a little bit more. I should have just started with political science, but nonetheless, we're done. with ChatGPT. Are there any questions about ChatGPT, specifically prompt engineering? Remember the big takeaway. I'm going to type it into the chat just so we remember. Role, audience, goal. Give ChatGPT a role. Explain to the audience that's trying to tailor this to, and give it some goals. How do we get some outputs out of that? RAG. RAG is good. That acronym right there. Thank you, Stephanie, Professor Bias, for your positive contributions as always. Any other questions? I'm going to take 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip ahead. I was going to talk about custom GPTs, custom chatbots that you can create. However, we're half an hour in. I want to just move on to the next tool. Custom chatbots are available to anyone, but if you want to create your own, it is a paid feature. Let's focus on features that are just available to everyone right off the bat. So let's keep going with our slide. Let's talk about Google Notebook. Google Notebook. And in the chat, I'm going to copy that link. And Google Notebook is completely free, at least for now. Google might, offer paid plans in the future. I think they're marketing towards business and education. These large institutions where institutions will pay a flat fee to get like workspaces and team ups, things like that. But an individual account, all you need is a Google account. Your free Google account is all you need. And I want to talk about Google Notebook, and I want to preview it here. You can use Google Notebook from your phone or mobile device, tablet, or see the web browser. So what is Google Notebook? In a way, it's like ChatGPT, except for the sake of all of this, it is your own documents. You are providing the sources. It won't look outside of any source that you provide. And so you're training it on the documents that you want. In a sense, like the paid version of ChatGPT, you're creating your custom chatbot based off the sources, credible sources, hopefully, that you find, and you can converse with your course materials. Have a chat with your research article that you're studying or lecturing on, or even writing. You can have some interactive research, and I'm going to show you how advanced it gets. If you have Google Docs, it easily syncs up with your Google account, your Google Docs. You just click your Google Docs from your folders. You can add YouTube videos. It'll pull the transcript and generate information off of that. PDFs, slides, you put it in to the Google Notebook. It'll draw information from there. And you can get great summaries, good questions, and things like that. Why don't I go ahead and jump to Google Notebook? And I created a Google Notebook, but anyone can do it. So again, I posted the link in the chat. Hopefully you could just play along. I've created a notebook, but I'll demo that in a bit. But I want us to start from scratch. And so here's where you would create a new notebook. You upload a source. You can upload a PDF. You can upload another type of document. And I happen to have a document ready to go. Let me pull it up. I had it open, but now. Nope. 1 second. There we go. So I'm going to introduce a political science journal article from about the Revolutionary War. I'm just going to use that one source. Google says that it doesn't use personal data to train the AI. But if that is true, how does it train? Well, Notebook is kind of like an individual chatbot only knows as much as you enter into it. However, you should understand that when Google has access to these documents, has access to your slides, has access to your Google Drive, your contents, if you're not paying for it, chances are they're harvesting data from that. So I would not necessarily trust Google. Now, when you have an institutional educational workplace setting, that the college or university might be paying for. In those sense, Google will go and make a protected like firewall. That data will be yours because you are paying for that privacy. Understand with Google Notebook, privacy is something that is virtually, just for the sake of argument, just consider it. It's not really going to be private at all. Sad to say. However, that doesn't mean that, some of the things we look up, some of the things we enter, something like a journal article or an open textbook, open educational resource, these types of things can be very useful for students. So what I've done is I've uploaded just a single source, and I can actually show you. This was the title of this paper is Why Was the American Revolution a War? A Rationalist Interpretation by David A. Lake. Now, when I go into this, the summary here, it's breaking down some key concepts. I know when I was in graduate school, when I would read journal articles, I would pick up on things very quickly. I'd say, oh, look at the abstract, look at the intro, look at the conclusion, look at the tables, and I would draw my conclusions. You can draw a fair amount of conclusions from that. Google Notebook does that work. I don't want to say for you, but it does some of that work that you might find useful. You should always remember and rely on your own instincts and expertise when thinking about complex data. But then you can think about, let's add a note here. Well, not a note. Let me expand this. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you see this page called Studio. Let me minimize sources. Studio is a way to generate things like, okay, what's a frequently asked question that may come up with this article? Notice all I've done was upload the source, and now I can look at some of the FAQs that have happened here. According to the rationalist interpretation presented, what was the primary underlying cause of the American Revolutionary War? And it has some of these answers here, some of these things that are broken down where I would have to go and verify, but having done it a few times, generally these things, there's a pattern to these things, and generally it's drawing from this information in a way that actually picks up some useful ideas. So that's one just thing that's right off the bat. I can also pull up instantly a timeline. These same four preloaded notes here, they will always populate. So here is every year that is mentioned in the article, and it breaks down in order by year. It even gives you a cast of characters, people like Benjamin Franklin and all sorts of people. So this could be very helpful as a primer. What do I need to know? What's the theme? How does it end? And then as you deep dive through the article, you might find it's a lot easier to grasp who all these people are, what all these events mean, and more. I can create a study guide. Study guide is actually going to create test questions written, and I can even ask for multiple choice and things like that. But here are some just short answer quiz questions that if I wanted to study this, what would I need to know? And so here's the answer key. Here are some essay format questions. Here's a glossary of key terms. This might be very useful if a student, students love the bolded words. They love the highlighted words. They'll write down every bolded note on your PowerPoint slide. Having these things ready to go just to draw from it, because some of these advanced things like salutary neglect, these are things that don't come to the minds of everyday Americans and everyday California college students. They would want to know some of these important concepts that you can break down and help explain the larger, bigger picture. So that is that. Finally, I should have started this generating output. One of the unique features of Google Notebook is its podcast creation tool. And when I say podcast, in the next 30 seconds, if it doesn't load or anything, I'll jump to another note that I've made where I've created a podcast. It actually sounds like two people talking to one another about this article. And it's actually this is probably the scariest part of today's lesson. When I say scary, I just want you to know the future is now. So that's going to take a while to load it up. Let me share with you this podcast that I've created for a different article about Frederick Douglass. So let's take a listen, and please please, just think about the fact that this is all I trained it on a PDF of another journal article. I also added a Wikipedia page in case there's any background context that about Frederick Douglass might be, interesting. And then I looked up a YouTube video just from biography about Frederick Douglass. So let's take a listen to this podcast. And while we're listening, I will try to answer some of these questions in the chat.
We hear so much about equality and justice, especially here in America, but I don't know, it always makes me wonder, where did these powerful ideas really come from? Especially from the perspective of the people who were denied those very rights.
Yeah, and that's a really critical question to ask if we want to understand the foundations of civil rights and social justice in this country. I mean, for this deep dive, we're going to go back to the 19th century and look at the work of, well, a truly remarkable figure, Frederick Douglass.
Oh, absolutely. Now, most people probably know Douglas from, I don't know, like basic history classes, right? But we want to go beyond that, like beyond the kind of standard biographical stuff and really explore his thinking, his ideas. I mean, the guy was born into slavery, escaped, and became a leading abolitionist, an incredible orator. I mean, a powerful, powerful speaker and a writer, just an amazing figure. In fact, he became the most important.
I'm going to pause right there. I'm seeing some of these messages. George says, I've made a podcast with this tool and it's pretty cool. I do agree it's cool, but also, as Kendall saying, scary, very scary. David, NPAIR, yeah, it does have NPR voice. Charles, this would be fun for driving trips. Yeah, I've actually loaded a document into it, created the podcast, and pulled it up from my phone, and things like that. Can we request that the output have source attribution? Let's see. Can you? Let's say create a works cited page. Let's see if it works. I haven't tried that, honestly, so we're going to find out. Can help with auditory learners. Yeah, that is me as well. I've listened to more audiobooks in the past 2 years than I've read actual paper books, because those car rides, those freeway flying miles, they add up. That's valuable minutes I can get. Can we change the voices at this time? Not that I know of. I do know that it is this has been a critique that these two voice actors probably gave their voice rights away, but there's no real inflection or way to manage it at this moment. That said, that's Google Notebook. I wanted to show you a couple more features, but for the sake of time, let's get to some of these other tools. Let's see. Nelson asked about the source attribution. It's creating this works cited. I think it's drawing this works cited page from the journal articles works cited list, which is going to be extensive. Also, keep in mind I tapped into Wikipedia, so the Wikipedia sources might appear here. And anything that's listed as a source from that YouTube article, a YouTube video, it might also pick up here. So this is something, the sources could be abundant. So yeah, I think that's pretty useful, especially if students want to learn more, or if you want to track down what your sources are using, get to those more closer to the primary sources. So I didn't know that this would work, but I'm glad that it did. I'm glad you had that question. We're excited. Again, I'm no expert. I just play with these things. I'm probably just a few weeks ahead of all of you, or some of you, as we've gone through this. So absolutely, lots of good stuff here. All right. For the sake of time, here's the step-by-step. We're going to just power through this. You create an account on Google. You open up Google Notebook. You then create a new notebook, just hitting the plus, new. You import your PDFs, your links to external sources. I've linked to President Trump's executive orders, especially in the recent time, see what changes are actually, things that are words versus things that are tangible. You can review the source, you can see where it's pulling information from. You can ask specific questions to this AI, and then you can generate summaries, quizzes, study guides, or even podcasts from your sources. So that is Google Notebook in a nutshell. And for those who entered a little bit later, I'm going to type in the chat again. These are all of the tools that we're focusing on today. So we've sped through Google Notebook because we're going to try to speed through Napkin and Gamma as best as possible. I didn't know how long this topic would take, but it seems like we're all kind of learning together and developing things. Now, I want to talk to you about Napkin. NapkinAI is something that was new to me. I didn't hear about NapkinAI until just last month. And I've already used it in a number of ways to transform how I generate ideas. I want to share with you something personal. I want to share with you my PowerPoint slides that I talk about when I talk about the Constitution and the express powers. And before Napkin, I had these really in-depth slides to try to explain to students who had no knowledge base of their Constitution where the powers of the president lie. The president has military powers, act as commander-in-chief. They commission officers. The president has judicial powers to pardon and grant pardons and reprieves, legislative powers, diplomatic powers, executive powers. When I'm delivering this content, as I'm going bullet point for bullet point, students are writing down, they're writing down feverishly. This is a lot of text for them to generate. I plug this into Napkin, and let me see if I can find it here. Well, I plugged it into Napkin. Let me show you the output, and then let me show you what I can do. It took all of those bullet points, and it condensed it into this helpful one singular page graphic. I could have chosen a better graphic. I could center this a little bit more, but the powers are clear. Presidential powers at the center, and then you have the judicial powers, military powers, legislative powers, diplomatic powers, executive powers, all on one handy slide. And, if I were in class setting, if I had the time, I'd print out this slide for them, hand it to them before class. And then I would say, let's focus on the military powers first and explain some of these things. Those chunky pieces of text, those bullet points where they're writing, you're talking, students are writing, you're talking, they're writing, they're not listening just yet. Everyone writes at a different pace. We have to wait for them to finish writing. Then you can explain some of these more complex things. You hope that they're taking notes and understanding and listening, but what goes through a student's mind? How do I get everything on that page? With this visual, I've condensed 3 slides of multiple paragraphs worth of text into just one handy visual aid. You can do this with NapkinAI. I'm going to paste the link one more time into the Zoom chat, and we could create like any type of idea. So I've experimented with the judicial branch, just thinking of different graphics. Now I do want to show you. Let's see. Let's look up. Does anyone have any website or data that they want us that we could demonstrate with? I'm just going to crowdsource this for a bit. Anything at all? Anything useful? I'm kind of at a blank for the moment. I should have had some ready to go data. Now, let me just jump to my slides.
Like explain the in tournament of the NBA or something.
The tournament, NBA tournament.
The in tournament, like the in season tournament.
Okay, but for that, Napkin isn't a text generator, so I'm going to turn to ChatGPT.
You need the info first.
Mm-hmm.
Or explain March Madness or something.
In season tournament. Let's go with the NBA because I don't understand college basketball. Can you ask to summarize all of President Trump's executive orders? Yes, you can. In fact, I could show you with deep research in another time, but maybe we'll have some opportunity for extended conversations after this. Maybe if there's demand, we can hold some of these sessions in the future. But take something like this, the tournament format. This is pretty good. There's a group stage and a knockout stage. Let me make a new one. Oh, discuss.
And I like this. I like what Jesse's saying, but like, wouldn't we have to we'd have to go back and like fact check it all, right? Because
Yes,
we
of
can't
course.
assume, yeah, right? Can't assume that what ChatGPT is putting out is like accurate.
Right. So Napkin is able to generate some basic text. Love to continue this convo. Kentucky Derby example. Okay, we could do that next. But here's a great way. A list is always a great way to generate. So I'm going to just select this little header and all this. There's one button here that I press, generate visuals. We're demonstrating it. It's really as simple as this. Thinking, umbrella. I don't really like that. All right, here we go. Unveiling the NBA season in-tournament impact. Some impact here, increasing fan engagement, enhancing player motivation, diversify the season. This money sign, that might be a reason because these in-season tournaments are going to be cash grabs. They're television spectacles. So I get to choose from a variety of formats that it all kind of thinks. It takes some of it presents me a series of ideas. I am not the best at visual aids, but with this, it looks very polished in a way that I could, think about pros and cons even. Yeah, there's a lot here that I could include. And let me just settle with this. When you click on one particular format, you can adjust colors, color scheme. You can do this. You can even create your own style. For the sake of time, I won't go into that as much, but you can create your own style, color format, color scheme. And I'm just going to go with this. I can save this and put it onto a PowerPoint slide, just like any picture or image. Any questions? I'm going to go and do David McPatchell's question about the Kentucky Derby. Explain the significance of the Kentucky Derby. And yes, program reviews are something that technical reporting, if you think what could spice it up, what could explain some of this technical review, you would identify text. This is generating text, but I could easily copy and paste some of this text in, and I can try to just go paragraph by paragraph, or I can go into, I can select it all and see what it pumps out, but you can select what you want to select. And it generates, going with the umbrella again, and it generates as much as you like or need. I like this one. I'm just going to go with this one. And it highlights the race long-standing tradition, celebrates the social aspects, the cultural impact, the economic contributions. The mint julep is something that I think is discussed in this summary from the AI. Elaborate hats. I've seen some pictures of people wearing those elaborate hats. And a vibrant atmosphere. It seems like it's the Kentucky Derby is one of the biggest horse racing events in the country annually, and so it maybe has a little bit of cultural significance and financial incentive as well. So you can see all of this. David just asked Kentucky Derby example. I just really typed this in. Of course, I want to verify this information. And I'm not an expert in the Kentucky Derby, but had it been about something like the president's powers or some other political science thing or your own expertise, you would know what is good, what is bad, and you would be selective. You would be the one curating this information. Any questions on Napkin? I think we're going to have time just to demo Gamma before we move on. But any questions on Napkin? Would it make more sense to type in your lecture notes into Napkin or the text from your PowerPoints to make the images? Yes, you can absolutely do that. So I can use this PowerPoint here. Let me go to, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is too much text. I'm looking at this. This is also too crowded, right? This is something I grabbed from a textbook. Textbook publishers are probably, I don't know if they're nervous about this, but they might be curious, right? So let's look at the legislative checks and let's just focus here. This is just ripped straight. Can I take out the julep? Let me go back and let me see, or let me demonstrate it with this chart here. so far, that one's nice. But I'd really want to convey kind of like the equal aspects of this. This is something that's a little bit better. I'm going to go with this one because it just feels right. It's what I would pick, and we're running out of time. So could I delete something specific? The answer is yes, you absolutely could. I can take that out, take this out. I can try to move things in such a ways where it acts, you can edit on the spot. So that's another example. Finally, I want to share with you Gamma.AI. This is Gamma.app. This slideshow was generated with Gamma. So let's see, is there another, just someone give me a prompt example? Anything you'd want to make a presentation about. I'm just going to demonstrate this, and then I think we're going to call it a day. First come, first serve. Any new, the 7 continents. You are giving a lesson on the 7 continents to intro geology, or let's say geography, I guess either or, students. All right. So sorry, all those, you can play with Gamma yourself. Gamma is free. You're able to generate up to 8 slides, and you get like a certain monthly quota. To pay for it, there is a subscription fee. I'm paying, this is the paid version. It has the function, you'd see the same things, but at a certain point, you'd run out of cards, you'd run out of the ability to generate. It's created an outline. Pangea. Okay, it's talking about some of the features. Okay, remember I said this is, for geology students. Let me generate this now, and then I'll show you how powerful it is, and then I'll leave it up to you to actually go out and, if you like it, create it. So cool thing about this, you can see it generate in real time the types of things that you like. And for building our own AI presentation, I liked it, but I had to make some edits. I didn't like some of these formatting features. And this is real time. This is a prompt. It's almost like a magic trick. I'm saying, someone give me something, and it's kind of showing out. But you could see this is doing a lot of the legwork. This is something that you'd be getting from a publisher, or you'd be spending hours of your day trying to craft to find a starting point. And even if you don't like this, you say, I just prefer PowerPoint or Keynote or slides or something like that, you can generate ideas from this in a way that would be, maybe it's useful. Now, you might notice some of these images are AI generated. That is completely normal. You have the option to search up different items on the web. This is AI. This is from the web, but it's AI generated. Here's a map, okay? But you can see I could just change the picture just like that. If I want to, let's say I don't like this. Let's make this slide more visual. I'm going to just make it more visual. I don't know what that means, but I don't like too much text. As it's visualizing, it'll think of ways to make it. It's going to add some pictures. Here we go. It's going to use AI pictures. Maybe I won't want AI pictures, but I can change it if I wanted to. Here we go. So that is Gamma.app. I do recommend that everyone, at least, if you're interested in this, play with the free version. I don't pay for it monthly. I'll pay for it when I use it, because all of your presentations, they get saved. All of them, will carry over. I can open up an old presentation at any time. But if I'm in a, pre-semester prep mode, and I'm thinking, how do I update my lecture slides from these like generic Google slide templates to something else? I can actually even upload my own PowerPoints, and it'll convert and generate text or stay true to the original text. So these are some of the things you can do. And with that said, we're at time. I will be happy to go over any last minute questions. I do have another meeting to run off to, but I hope you enjoyed it. And, please, if you have any questions, I'm going to drop these things into the chat. Before everybody leaves, one great question. Are these ADA accessible? I needed to say no. Gamma is not currently ADA accessible. And I want to show you what I've done with this. What I've had to do is, if you notice, when I typed in that message, I allowed you to see that link. Let's go web. I allowed you to see that link, but then at the very bottom of this chat text in our Zoom chat, I say accessible PDF here. I actually downloaded this as a PDF, and then I used Adobe Acrobat to make the visual tags, the alt text, generating that header. It took me about 15 minutes, but that is something where if you wanted to give this out to students, you would want to make sure that you have some equivalent for you. So either, pulling the text out from this, extracting that and handing that to students, or using Adobe Acrobat. So it is imperfect. That is something that I will say. If you're doing it for an online course and you record this presentation and you caption the presentation and images are popping up and you're explaining the images, that is something that could substitute, annotating a PDF. Students can pause and jump to slide and you're explaining it like a screen reader would. So that would be another way around accessibility. You either have to tag it yourself with Adobe Acrobat, which we have free as Compton College employees, or you'd have to work around it. So great question on accessibility. I would have talked about that, but we ran out of time. So just keep playing with it and ask those good questions to yourself. Thank you, everyone. If you're still around, we'll pause there. I'll pause the recording here. And please, if you have any questions, if you have any questions about instructional design and, thinking of some of these tools and you'd like to go over and have like a one-on-one session, I'd be happy to, all you have to do, make an appointment and we'll take it from there. All right, let me pause that recording. Have a good day, everybody.
All right, take care, Stephen. Thank you very much.